Forced undercover for 6 years and my best friend steals my fiancé. Part 1. I work for the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA. 6 years ago, Jason, 26M, was happily engaged to the love of my life, Tracy, 25F. My best friend was Frank. His father was gunned down by police when he was 12 years old, and since he had no family and he was my best friend, my parents decided to adopt him. He ended up becoming the golden child and was treated better than me, which I didn't mind, as I knew they were just trying to help him recover from the trauma of witnessing his father's death. Jump forward to 6 years ago, and my superiors call me in. They want me to go undercover, even though I wasn't an undercover cop. During the briefing, I learned the real reason Frank's father had died. He was a founding member of a biker gang that covered a couple of cities and were heavily involved in organized crime. And so far, they had been unable to place an undercover agent in the biker gang, but then they discovered my friendship with Frank and thought they could use this to place me undercover. I tried to refuse letting them know that I was getting married in a couple of months and that my fiancée is pregnant. They had assured me it would only be for a week, as they had received a tip-off that there was going to be a large meeting, and I was only meant to find its location. In my family, only my fiancée knew that I was a cop, mainly because of Frank, and I couldn't tell her that I was going undercover, so I told my family and fiancé I was going to be busy at work for the next week. The plan was that I would meet them to buy drugs, and this would get my foot through the door. Surprisingly, they had actually agreed pretty fast, but that's where everything went wrong. Shortly after the meeting began, there was a SWAT raid. Apparently, someone had phoned in about a possible bomb. During the raid, we were all arrested for drug trafficking. The next day, I was taken to an interrogation room where my superior was waiting. I was expecting him to be there to release me, but he told me that somehow all of the arrested bikers had claimed that I was high up in the organization, which my superior saw as the perfect opportunity for me to infiltrate the gang. And when I tried to decline, he told me that I have 2 options. One, that spend years in prison, or 2, I help them and be known as a hero. After calling him every name I could think of, I finally agreed, since I realized that I had very little options. As per the plan, I received a 30-year sentence. My family was very disappointed in me for going to prison for buying drugs. I asked my best friend to watch my fiancée for me as she was 2 months pregnant, and he assured me not to worry, he would take care of everything. During the next 5.5 years, I got lots of info that helped with the investigation, but I still couldn't get the information that we need about the leadership. This is when I was confronted by a group of bikers in the showers. They then beat me to a pulp. I was in hospital for over 3 months, and the doctors didn't know if I would make it the first week. As soon as I could, I passed on the information of who had stabbed as well as which wardens were on duty. This actually turned out to be a break for the investigation, as using information I had already gathered, they were able to get the names of a few of the higher-ups. And finally, I was released. My parents were told that there had been a review of my case, and that I was actually innocent. From their skeptical look, I could tell they didn't believe it. When I asked them how Tracy was doing, they tried to change the subject, but after a while told me that they didn't tell her that I was arrested, but rather that I had died in a shootout between police and drug dealers. They didn't want her to wait 30 years for me to come out of prison, so they told her that I had died so that she moved on. Thus is when they dropped the next bombshell on me. She was engaged to Frank, and they were getting married in 3 months. I demanded to use a phone so that I could call her. At first, my father didn't want to, but eventually gave me his phone. I called her number, but Frank answered the phone. He told me that she doesn't want to see me, but that he would come and see me in her stead. I met up with Frank at my parents' house. During the conversation, he told me that he had helped Tracy and been there for her every day, helping out with the baby. The baby was a healthy boy that Tracy named Jason in memory of me, and that he was 5 now. After 3 years, they had developed feelings for each other and had started dating. And then 6 months ago, he had proposed to her, and she said yes. After 6 years undercover, I come home to my fiancée engaged to my best friend and my family, thinking that I'm a criminal. After lots of arguing, I finally managed to arrange to see my son next week.